This is WAAY 31 Law Call.
Good evening and welcome to WAAY 31 Law Call. I'm Sharon Doviet. Tonight we're taking your calls and questions about storm damage. Last week was such a busy one for the Tennessee Valley. So many people, homeowners with storm damage, people pitching in and helping their neighbors. Tonight's your chance to call in questions. Maybe you had property damage from rain, wind, fallen trees. Maybe you're dealing with the headache of dealing with the insurance company or contractors. What if the insurance company is not working with you? What if the contractor takes your money and doesn't do the work or does shoddy work? Call in your questions with your 31 storm damage questions. 31 Law Call number 536-0077. Getting us started tonight, Michael Timberlake's here from Timberlake, League and Brooks. Boy, we dodged a bullet. A lot of folks in Huntsville. I got to drive through Henniger over the weekend. Such a mess. Yeah. Glad everybody's okay out there.
Yeah, I mean, tons of property damage. It didn't look like there was that much physical damage or physical injuries. It could have been so much worse. So we're really grateful that it wasn't catastrophic in terms of property damage and injuries and lives. But we did face a long recovery in terms of repairing property damage, trees down, electricals down, utilities down. A lot of things are going to have to be done to get us back to where we were.
We like to start off before we even get your calls in, but the 31 Law Call number 536-0077. We start off with some video. You make the law call. We pulled some video. This is not local, but this is a tree coming through the roof. And
this is a scene from Christmas Vacation, right?
Is it? It looks familiar. If something like this happens at your home, okay, first off, if it happens because it's your tree, what if it happens because it's your neighbor's tree? And does it make a difference whether that's a healthy tree or a big storm like this? It's a tornado kind of situation. Does it make a difference in what kind of claim and what kind of lawsuits you tend to see?
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously a dangerous situation. Thankfully, it doesn't look like anybody was hurt in this situation. But, and trees, neighbors and trees and the law is a very, very popular topic that we deal with on many occasions. But basically, the sense is this, is that if it's a tree on your property, you can make a claim on your own homeowner's coverage for the damage that was caused. If it is a tree that comes from your neighbor's property, then your neighbor will only be responsible if, for some reason, the tree was dead, damaged, dying, and the owner of the tree knew or should have known about it and didn't take action to repair it, to get rid of it.
If you take pictures and you can see there was a big hollowed out rotten spot in the middle of it, is that what the evidence you need, or what do you need?
You can have a arborist or a tree service come look at the tree and tell you what you need to do. You have the right to remove limbs at from a tree, even if it's situated solely on somebody else's property. You have the right to remove trees, all the way up the property line, all the way in through the sky. So you can, address some of the problems on a tree that's in danger or presents a danger. But have somebody come out, look at it, put the other person on notice, either certified mail or hand them an envelope with a letter in it that says this is a problem, and then that will put them on notice of the issue. And
you've documented that you've told them.
Yes,
you told them.
Absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about volunteers, and we're looking forward to your calls. If somebody comes over to your property and helps you, you've got trees down, and they start doing work to help you,
right?
But they make it worse,
yeah,
or they get injured. Talk to me a little bit about volunteers. And you want to be the good neighbor and come over and help, but are you liable to get in trouble?
Sure. Well, if they're coming onto your property and it's not for a business purpose, it's not that you're not paying them and they're not earning a benefit by being on the property, then they're going to be treated as what we call a licensee, which is somebody that's the same as a social guest. And your obligation to a social guest or someone coming on your property to help you with something is to warn them about dangers that they wouldn't necessarily know about, that they're, something particular about the property that presents an injury. If you got down trees all over the place and you've got, areas that present danger that are going to be open and obvious, they're going to be on their own for that. But if there's something particular about your property, there's a cave or there's a hole or there's something that presents danger, you need to remind them about that and tell them about that before you allow them on your property.
what if I'm the good Samaritan and I
Right.
go over to your house trying to help?
Sure.
And I make something worse.
You know, if you make something worse, and the question's going to be, you know, what was your expectation? What kind of reasonable care did you use? You're going to look at the homeowner. Did you allow someone on your property to do work that you knew wasn't trained and wasn't a professional? And you don't want to let somebody on your property to cut a 100-foot pine tree if they're not a true tree cutter. So you got to, or you're going to be responsible for what happens. So you want to make sure that if you let somebody come on your property, that you don't let somebody do something that they're not qualified to do.
I'm thinking if I come dig you out of a tornado mess and the wall collapses
Sure.
on you and I make it worse trying to help you,
I
in
think
trouble?
that's going to be one of those situations. What's reasonable in that
Okay.
situation?
Okay.
What are you trying to do? If you're really trying to help someone and it's life or death, I don't think there's going to be any responsibility there.
We got this email question in from Abigail. Abigail wrote, "My insurance company said I needed 3 estimates for my roof damage. Is that true?" What do you think? Is that a standard thing you've heard before? Or?
That used to be the case. A lot of times we would see that insurance companies would want you to get estimates, to have someone look at the damage to your house, and then they would decide what they were going to pay. What we're seeing much more often these days is insurance companies will either have adjusters that they will send out to assess things, or that they will have an independent adjuster, a third-party adjuster, that will come out and assess claims. So, I think you're going to see a lot of that going on with the amount of storm damage that we had from this storm. You're going to see a lot of adjusters out on the road, looking at roofs, adjusting claims. The question then becomes, well, do you want to take their word for it, or do you want to get an independent, evaluation of what happened? So, and roofing companies will do that. They will come up, they'll look at your roof, they'll take pictures, they'll gather that evidence, and then if it doesn't match up with what the insurance company is saying, then you can have a conversation.
So how much does the insurance company have to do to clean up? So do they have to rebuild the house to the same way that it was before? Do they have to, if you've got a tree that's twisted off from the top, do they have to take it all the way down and grind the stump and put you back to a really good position? Or what is their obligation?
Well, in terms of trees, obviously what they're going to do is the insurance company's going to have to put it into a position that it's safe. So they can't just come in and take a tree that's been heavily damaged and cut a couple of limbs off of it. I don't think they have to grind the stump. I think that may be on the homeowners.
Okay.
But then when you look at property damage claims for some type of repairs or damage to houses, you look to the terms of the policy. There's basically 2 types of coverage that you can purchase for homeowners coverage. You can purchase what we call replacement value, which will pay for the entire cost of replacing whatever is damaged, regardless of how old it is or how much it costs to do it, or whether it costs more to do it now than it did when you built the house. And then you can look at policies that provide actual cash value, and they will provide you the diminished value of the roof, the diminished value of the home. They're not necessarily going to pay you the cost of replacing the property. They're going to pay you the cost of the property as it is aged down or diminished. So, you want to make sure that you have actual cash value insurance if at all possible. Replacement value if at all possible.
And what about the stuff inside, your TVs and your furniture and your all of that?
Right.
The whole,
right. Well,
the policy?
There's a rider in homeowners policies for personal property damage, and that's what we're talking about here. And typically there's a dollar amount that you would look at, and again, it's actual cash value or replacement value. Most personal properties are replacement value, but you're going to need some kind of documentation for what it was. Don't just throw the stuff in a dumpster. Make sure that you take pictures of what's going on. A lot of people, that we tell people that, if you've got a house and you're insuring it, walk through with your phone and take video of all your property. an itemization with serial numbers, dates of purchases, and all kinds of things like that is great. But you can learn a lot just from pictures or a video of all the property that was in your house before it was damaged.
Good tip. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back answering your questions. The 31 Law Call number 536-0077, talking all about storm damage.
You're watching WAAY 31 Law Call. Your rights, your calls, live. Presented by the Tennessee Valley's award-winning personal injury and wrongful death law firm, Timberlake, League & Brooks. Featuring the knowledge and experience of attorney Michael Timberlake, attorney Will League, attorney Heath Brooks, attorney William Maservi. And hosted by broadcaster and family law attorney Sharon Doviet. This is WAAY 31 Law Call.
Welcome back to 31 Law Call. I'm Sharon Doviet. Tonight we're talking about storm damage. Last week was a big one for the Tennessee Valley. So many people with damage, and going to be dealing with insurance companies. And if you don't like doing that, and if you haven't done it before, it's not fun. So tonight's your night to call in and ask Michael Timberlake questions about dealing with storm damage. The 31 Law Call number 256-536-0077. We're expecting more rain this week. So if you had damage to your roof,
Sure.
you better be ready for that, right? What
Right.
happens if you don't cover it up and you get more damage?
Right. Well, any insurance policy and basically the common law and most every state would require somebody who's suffered damage to what we call mitigate their damages. And that doesn't mean that you have to get out there in the middle of a thunderstorm and tarp your roof. But it does mean that if you have damage, you have to take reasonable steps or reasonable measures to try to stop the bleeding or stop the damage when you can. Like some of these terrible property damage claims we're seeing, there may not be any way to fix that. But with a roof that's got a leak that's not major, that's certainly something that you want to address. Insurance companies a lot of times have fast response teams, or they have people that you can contact about that and make sure that they come out there and at least put a Band-Aid on to stop the bleeding before it gets worse. So that's an obligation of the homeowner. And if you don't do that, if you just say it's fine, then you could potentially not have to pay for it yourself. Insurance company may deny the claim because you're not going to be able to tell what came from the storm and then what came from your refusal or inability to get something done.
I'm kind of surprised they don't make us get tornado coverage here in the South.
Sure.
They make us get earthquake coverage if you want earthquake coverage,
Right.
and flood insurance,
Sure,
right?
absolutely.
Why don't they make us get tornado insurance?
Well, tornado insurance in particular would be covered under the typical policy for wind damage. So it is a specific type of wind, but it would be typically covered under wind damage. Flooding is a little bit different because it's a catastrophic event coming from a water source. It's not just rain, but water damage is covered under your policy, even if you don't have flood insurance, if there's not a flood. So if you have wind damage your house, a tree hits your house, and you get water inside the house, that's going to be covered typically under the normal provisions of the policy. So there's not really a reason to have specific tornado damage.
Okay. Hail damage. Talk to me about hail damage and coverage for that.
Yeah, I mean, these storms are kind of the easy way to prove hail damage. You've got it documented throughout the community that there was hail that came down in a specific area. Well, this is facts that insurance companies know and can look at from the weather. From the reports of the weather, and they've got access to that data. In fact, they use that data to set premiums. So, if you think that there was hail in the area, from this storm, it's going to be simple. Yes, somebody needs to inspect your roof if you were in the area where these tornadoes came through, because you more than likely have some type of hail damage. But if you're not in that area, but there was hail, if there's hail nearby your house or at some point in time, have a roofing company come inspect your house periodically to make sure that there is not hail damage. And if there is, then you can report it to your insurance company and potentially get, paid for a new roof. But it's more of the, well, there was a hailstorm, around here. I didn't really see any hail. Well, that doesn't mean you don't have damage. You need to have it checked out.
And if you don't get it checked out now and you wind up next year finding it and you've changed insurance companies especially.
Yeah, if you change insurance companies, it's going to be a problem. And then they're going to be, and then trying to relate, specific damage, back to a storm. And then once you've got another 1-2 years of wear on the house, it becomes difficult to try to prove that it was all from the hail and not normal wear and tear. So, if there's a hail event in your neighborhood, make sure you get your roof checked out.
Talk a little bit about dealing with these insurance companies. If they're not cooperating and they're not doing what you think they're supposed to do, what are your steps? At what point does it become a problem that you need to go see a lawyer?
Yeah, I mean, it really is. It's kind of one of those things where we try to give people as much advice on the front end because these things can get worked out. If it comes down to a situation where the insurance company has denied your claim and said, we're not going to pay you, then that is the situation that you absolutely need to talk to a lawyer about. In Alabama, you can file a claim against an insurance company in that situation for breach of contract. They've denied your claim, and you have a valid claim, and you can get damages to punish the insurance company for bad faith. If they have denied your claim in bad faith, which means there's no arguable or debatable reason to deny the claim, then you can pursue them for bad faith damages and get your contractual damages, which is the cost of repair, plus damages to punish the insurance companies.
Okay, a lot of vehicles got damaged in some of these storms.
Sure.
So if my vehicle is damaged at my house, a tree falls on it at my house in one of these storms.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of those pictures. It's been a real mess.
What insurance covers it? Is it the auto insurance or is it the homeowner's insurance? Or if I had my car at your house and your tree falls on me, whose insurance covers that?
What would happen is typically would be the automobile insurance coverage on the vehicle. If you had collision coverage on the vehicle, it would come first. It will pay for the damage to the vehicle. If you don't have collision coverage on the vehicle, you may have a hard time getting reimbursed unless you can prove, again, that if it was parked at my house and I had an old dead tree there and it's been dead for a long time, I knew it was dead and I didn't take it down, it falls on your car, that's probably the only other situation where you could get it taken care of.
Okay. How about if the repairs get done? So you have damage, some company comes in to do the work on your house and you don't feel like they've done good quality work. At what point do you call a lawyer for that?
Yeah, I mean, contractors' disputes are rampant, and typically they don't end up well for the person, the consumer. The real situation is you want to vet your contractors, make sure they're licensed, make sure they're insured, make sure you have references from people they've done work for in the past. Look at the Better Business Bureau site. There are other companies that provide some reviews. Typically in the day of the internet age, if there's a company that's got a Facebook page or a web page out there, they're going to have some reviews. So you want to make sure that you go do your due diligence before you just sign off on allowing anybody on your property to do work. The second thing is do not pay them the entire amount up front. Some contractors will need money for materials up front, and that is perfectly fine, but never pay a contractor the full amount that they're going to get paid up front before they do any work, because the likelihood is they're not going to come back and do the work, or if they do the work and you're not happy with it, they're not going to come back and fix it.
You say make sure they're licensed and insured.
Right.
I mean, do you ask them for show me the piece of paper?
Show me the card.
Show me.
I want to know who your business license is in the state of Alabama, and you can double check that.
Okay.
And make sure that that's the case, and an insurance card, and you can double check that with the insurance company they present. So you want to make sure that if you allow somebody to come on your property and they're a repair person and they do damage and make the situation worse, then there's a way for you to recoup your damages.
Okay. Documenting things, take pictures along the way?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, it's cell phone cameras are great. They've allowed us to tell people to take as much evidentiary information as we can get in a situation, between without really any hassle. So it's really great information to have. It's almost free, so
Yeah.
it's really it's a no-brainer to take as many pictures as you possibly can.
Okay. If I make a claim because my house got hit,
Right?
is my insurance going to go up? It seems like I ought to be protected. It's not my fault, right?
Yeah.
If I have damage and I have to file a claim and my insurance company raises my rates,
Right.
that doesn't seem fair.
Well, basically what you're going to do is you're looking at the situation. Every time you have one of these severe weather events, every time you have a storm, every time there's a hurricane, every time there's a flood, the insurance companies look at that information and they factor it in terms of what your premiums need to be. So in terms of, will they ding you? Will they raise your rates specifically because you made a claim? Maybe not, or maybe they shouldn't. But in a situation like this, when you've got a storm, you've got a major storm that comes through and the weather is more severe and it's more often and you're getting more damage and you're getting more severe damage, those are situations that insurance companies will specifically address, and they will raise premiums based upon that because they're expected to pay out more claims. I mean, there are crises in California, in Florida. You can't live on the coast and get insurance for a hurricane because they've paid out so much money for this. The insurance companies don't want to deal with it anymore. They don't want to, they don't want to take that risk, and so it can create a real problem. And you'll see, and if they're going to take the risk, they're going to want more money to do so if it is an area that is prone to these type of things.
All right, we're going to take a break. Be right back answering more of your questions all about storm damage tonight. Stay with us. If you didn't get your questions answered tonight, here's how to get in touch with Michael Timberlake with Timberlake, League and Brooks. They are in Huntsville and they're personal injury attorneys, so that's everything from auto accidents to medical mistakes, or if you're having problems with the insurance company over your storm damage, call in 536-0770, the 800 number, 800-804-2502. The website is law-injury.com, and if you like them on Facebook, you can learn more about the law that way.
And Sharon practices family law, 256-539-7337. She does a great job with child support, child custody, modification, and just basic divorce. SharonFamilyLaw.com.
Thank you very much. Thanks for everybody. Glad everybody survived this past week. We'll see you next week.